Okay. We are live a little bit early. And now I hope that the sound is okay. I did choose this microphone, which I forgot yesterday. So it should be okay. I also have a new device that will connect me to the internet. And if this does not work, I will have to find another solution. But this is as far as I can get with this setup here in my office. Okay. As I said, starting a little bit early. I will start a little bit early sometimes. Also, if this connection here should fail, I will re-upload or refresh, and that should fix the problem. So, let me just ask you, is the sound okay today? Is it okay like it's usually is, because I did choose this microphone here today, which I forgot the other day. Okay. Well, it's exciting times. Looking at the news, some of the things I'm reading in the news it's kind of crazy. But let's jump straight into it. Yesterday I read that the pardons, is that preemptive? You do it in advance. Presidential pardons that Biden did. Trump says that they are void because an alert here on my computer screen. Okay. Trump says that they are void because Biden used auto pen. I don't know how that works with the legal matter there is. I don't know. I don't know if he has a point there or not, but it would be, let's just imagine that using auto pen, which I don't know what that is, but when I get contracts now, I rarely sign them by hand. It's automated because it's all digital, right? Maybe that's what they're talking about. I don't know, but anyway, let's just assume that those pardons are found void. Well, what's the word? That those people who were pardoned by Biden, some of them are not really immune anymore. And then, we're talking about the 6th of January committee. Now, I will say this about the 6th of January, the so-called storming of the Congress. I think that was a foolish thing to do. I think it was clearly illegal. Do I think that it was an attack on democracy? Do I think that it was a violent uprising that Trump asked his cult to attack the democracy? No, because that's clearly not true. So, having said that, also I think that those people who were sentenced, clearly that was not a fair trial. It was revenge. It was making an example of them. Now, so I think that needs to be looked into, all of that. But the committee, should they be put before the legal system and sent, what's the word? Should they go through a legal trial? I don't know. I don't know the legal system in the USA, but I'm more interested in a person whose name always reminds me of a piece of classic literature, Fauci. Because I know that Elon Musk wants to have him put in prison. Andrew, thank you for the donation there. Thank you so much. You're saying that AutoPen has been used for decades. Kennedy used it. Oh, okay. So it's not like the digital signing system that we use in business now. Then okay, I don't know what AutoPen is actually. But Fauci was pardoned. Hunter Biden was pardoned. And the way I see it, they are both criminals. And the worst criminal there is, of course, Fauci. We know how this works. Okay, some people are saying here now it's a machine, it's a robotic device used to sign documents. Okay. I see. Now, so let's just assume that some of those people who were pardoned by Biden, that they were not really pardoned because it's you have to sign by hand or something like that. Now, I don't know if that's the case, but let's just assume that. It would be, and let's take Fauci first. It would be extremely interesting to have someone like Fauci looked into his dealings, his crimes, because this is obvious now, and this is one of the strange things of humanity, I guess, that they are being told a lie, and they thought it was the truth, and then it's exposed that it was a lie, but they will still believe in the lie because calling it a lie would mean that they would also have to admit to themselves that they were wrong, right? And that's more difficult and more demanding than keep believing in that lie or telling yourself that you believe in the lie. Now, Fauci is clearly, I'll try to avoid getting this live stream taken down. So I will say that Fauci is clearly, he has connections that are interesting. Let's just put it that way. He has some connections that maybe would not look good. Okay. So, yes, a green-eyed lady says Fauci reminds me of Faust. Yes. And this could lead to, and I know that Kennedy, would be very interested in looking into this. This could lead to the dealings of big pharma. And from Fauci, you could start tracking down people who made themselves very rich during the COVID crisis. And please mind that I always call it the crisis and not the pandemic. Yeah. So, it's interesting. It's interesting. So we'll see what happens there. We will see what happens. I don't know. I would, if I had to put money on that, I would bet that those pardons are sadly not void. They are as good as if old man Biden had signed by hand. That's my guess, but I don't know. Now, I want to also get back to something I have talked about before and which I find very, very important. It's a very European thing. It's this, and you know by now, but if you have been following this channel, and if you haven't, if you're new to this, if by some miracle YouTube has recommended this live stream and you are listening or watching this, then I can tell you that I am very much against the war rhetoric that we are seeing in Europe now. This idea that we all of a sudden we must forget about the realities of war, and war is good. War is actually peace. Yeah, war is preserving peace. That's what it is. Basically, that's the message. And one of the reality TV shows that bugs me the most. I'm sorry, I have to blow my nose. I don't know why. I hope I'm not coming up with a cold. Probably not, but yeah. Where was I? Yeah. There is a reality TV show in Norway, and the idea is, and I hate it with a passion. So the idea, and it's very popular in Norway. A lot of people, especially older people, they love that reality TV show. So they put celebrities, young celebrities, that, and I don't know who those people are, but they put them in a military camp, and you have a mock M-O-C-K because it's not real sergeant, and they're all in these made-up uniforms. It's fucking sorry, it's ridiculous, and they are yelled at, and the whole idea is that through being yelled at and through being part of a team, they will become the best version of themselves. Now, I started hating that TV reality show because it's always promoted on TV. There is a TV in my house. It's not up to me, by the way. I would not have a TV, but I started hating it when I had the misfortune of watching part of one of those episodes where that idiot mock sergeant, they had got an assignment. The assignment was to these celebrities, influencers, and whatever they are, out in the woods. Oh, you need to build a shelter to survive the night, and they couldn't do that, most of them, I think. But one of these people, a young man, he had built a shelter which was basically a flat roof, which on top he had piled a lot of spruce branches. Now, when I was a little kid, I was up in the woods and I built spruce branch shelters. And you need to have very steep walls, like a teepee shape, or an A-frame, because if the roof is flat and it rains, the rain will just go through the branches, right? No, but that was this mock sergeant says that's a really good shelter, really good shelter. And I was like, I hope these people never see real war or any survival situation. Yeah. So I started hating that TV reality show, and the concept is that through being yelled at and through crying on camera and through carrying a heavy backpack, which I think is ridiculous to start with, um, they will become better people, you know. So yeah, that's why I hate that TV show. But also there's another reason. This is conditioning. This goes hand in hand with the commercials that we see in Norway about the military. Oh, the military is so great. Oh, the military is it's protecting democracy, forcing people, young people, into a uniform and putting a gun in their hands and telling them to go and kill some people that they've never met and possibly be killed themselves as well. That's democracy and freedom. Yeah. Now, in Norway, we have mandatory conscription, but it's it's there are there are many more young people than they need in the military, so not everyone gets conscripted. Luckily, but that might change because they are going to increase build up the military like crazy here. Because of the evil Russians. And people here are very perceptive, as always. And yes, this is about money. Of course, it's about money. GBSS war always makes money. Patricia says, I heard it said that Europe's economy is so bad, they need a war economy. What do you think? Yes. Yes, I think you're right. Will war bring wealth to Europe? No, it will not. There is a madness in Europe. That madness is called war. I made a video about that on the main channel. But war will make some people, some companies, very rich. And the fun thing about that is that the owners and the CEOs in those companies, they themselves are not at the front fighting. So now that they are talking about sending Norwegian kids to fight in Ukraine, it is, I'm not saying they are going to do that, but they are talking about it, you know, which is kind of scary. And I have noticed that it's not really a debate about this, is it? It's like they all agree on this, which is scary, you know. Yeah, so basically, yeah, it might be that we are moving into a war economy again. And I hate this propaganda. I hate the commercials on TV about, oh, you should do a career in the military. And here's an unpopular opinion, by the way. I've always heard that if you get an education as a leader in the military, then you will be sought after in the private sector, like they will hire you as a leader of a company. That's rubbish. That's not true, but they keep saying that. Yeah. So yeah, and this is like, yeah, again, I'm a top model. That's me. This is part of the reality here in Norway now. Not the reality, but part of life in Norway now. Might be much the same in other European countries, but it's clearly propaganda going on now to make people think highly of war and the military. This is a sad thing to watch. And people are idiots. People think that this is great. Yeah. If we can only send some people to shoot Russians, then everything will be much better. And while I'm at it, there are some proper idiots over in, especially the USA. And I saw that in the comment section, one of my videos on the main channel about the monster that they woke up in Europe, the monster of war. And the idea is that these Americans, they think that Europe can't fight on its own without the USA. And it's like they know nothing about history. And I wish they were I wish they were right. I really, really wish they were right that Europe could not fight without the USA. Because I thought that. I thought that was the case, you know. Now the USA withdraws from Ukraine, and I thought that Europe would not be able to continue the fight, but they will. And they have the resources to keep that going for many years. So yeah, that's a sad reality. Yeah, but let's move on. I don't want to dwell on that, you know. Now I'll try to do these live streams starting at 6 in the morning, Monday to Friday. By the way, if you wonder, so I started a little bit early. I might start earlier sometimes. So let's get to the chat and see what people have to say. Stealth mode says earlier for you would help me. Well, it's 6 o'clock in the morning now, so I can't promise to do it earlier than that. Kingdoms and Kobold says something very profound here. Anyone can fight. It's a matter of having enough population to sustain it and the will to do so. Vietnam showed us that in America, superior technology came to no effect except more killing. Yeah. And when you have state leaders who are willing to send young people and older people as well to the front to be killed, when they think that that's okay, then they can just keep doing that. When people don't refuse, when people just go along with it, when the general attitude for the time being seems to be that, yeah, that's good, let's do that, you know. Let's send our sons and daughters to be killed at the front in Ukraine. Let's do that. What a great idea. When that seems to be, you know, the thing, then they can keep the war going. Yeah, it's a horrible idea. It's immoral and disgusting and wrong, of course. Yeah. Wesley says the rich don't typically die in wars. Yeah. Cersei is asking basically if Europe is self-sustained with food. Yes, as far as I know, it is. Will there be starvation? Of course. If the war goes on and on, you will have people starving and getting sick from lots of diseases. Yeah. Okay. Let's see here. Yeah, what's the likelihood of nukes being used? Well, first of all, we know that there is absolutely enough nuclear bombs in the EU countries to obliterate, I hope that's the right word, Russia. And there is enough nuclear bombs in Russia to obliterate, again, hope that's the right word, Europe. So we can do that. That would, yeah. So I don't think it will come to that. I don't think it will come to that. There's a crazy idea. Also, I read that in the future you could see the USA and Russia being allies. So you could kind of imagine a scenario where Europe is fighting a coalition of Russia and the USA. And I don't think Europe would be able to keep that fight going for very, very long at all. But that's a kind of a crazy idea. But that's what some people are talking about. So, yeah. By the way, how are you all doing? Is it how are you doing? If you're in the northern hemisphere, it's spring now. This is spring. So I hope that you are looking forward to longer days and summer. Well, St. Patrick's Day, was that not is yesterday? Earth Lab, are you in school? No, Earth Lab USK. I'm going to Skåne very soon, actually. Noble Heart Horses, longer days makes me feel happy. Yes. This should be a fun one here. Did you see Conor McGregor address the White House in the USA? Okay, no, but Conor McGregor is, I might be wrong here. Who's that? It's early here, you'll have to forgive me, but is that MMA fighter? Or am I getting the names mixed up here? The little one. Irish boxer, yeah. So, okay. Did he? He seems like a proper idiot, but Egypt, isn't that what they say? He is. Yeah. No, what did he say? To the White House. I'm not sure if we should waste time listening to people like that. But yeah. Okay. Yeah. No. So I think that it's a fun thing when these people who lack the education and they lack the perception and they probably lack the intelligence to understand what they're talking about. You see these actors, typically virtue signaling and all of that. That's a typical example. And they receive an award at the Oscars. Is that what they call it? And they stand there. I haven't watched the Oscars in many, many years. Must have been 20 years since I watched the Oscars. And they will stand there and say something politically correct and thank to God and all of that, and then they're off stage to get more Botox in their face and I don't know, to do drugs or whatever. I don't know, but it comes across as kind of stupid and fake. And I have seen through social media some proper crazy stuff or statements coming from these MMA fighters. There is one. He's a flat earther, and he says the Earth must be flat because he's been on an airplane to fights in other countries, and from his plane he's never been able to see the curvature of the Earth. So yeah, imagine if science and the world, nature, was that simple, and that, yeah, if it was that simple, imagine. That would have been amazing. Yeah, I can't remember his name, but I have to say this, he did look like he had gotten a little bit too many punches in his head. Yeah. Oh yes, I did see Will Smith slapping Chris Rock. That one I saw. And I thought that was funny because I thought it was staged. I thought that can't be. I mean, they must have staged that, or at least they must have talked like, "Oh, well, let's do this thing," and you'll say this, and I'll go up there and I'll punch you, and I'll slap you, and we'll both get a lot of attention. That's what I thought, but apparently it was not. But you never know. You never know. Do we have flat earthers here today? Really? I don't know anymore if people are just trolling with the flat earth thing or if they actually believe it. But here's what I have found out. When you're out at sea and then you see a sailboat, right? and my boat is quite slow. So a bigger sailboat will sail past me and into the horizon. And then it vanishes and you see only the mast, and the mast sinks. You know why that is? It's the Earth is obviously flat, but that's the sea pixies, and they do magic, and they kind of pull boats down into the ocean sometimes, every time. And so those ships, they never come. They are never coming back. Never coming back. So that's why it's better to stay on land. Much safer. Yeah. So, KP Heathen, I understand that you need to be a little bit careful with the Earth disk. Actually, the whole immigration thing, what the danger there is. Immigration. You see all these people moving from the south to the north, like immigrants. And the real reason why people, like politicians, do not want that to happen is that if we get too many people up north, the Earth disk will start to tip, and we will all slide off, actually. So Steve, are you must be. It's this irony thing. I think you're being ironic. They don't let us go to the middle of Antarctica, so we don't find the exit point of the bowl-shaped Earth. Okay. Lots of people have been at the South Pole, actually. I met one of those guys, actually, who's been there. But anyway, yeah. So, yeah. And this is a funny one. If the Earth was truly flat, cats would have pushed everything off the edge. Yeah, Steve's just joking. Of course, yes. Now, let's see. Hotep says plenty of people hiked across Antarctica too. Yeah. Well, actually, I wouldn't say plenty, but it's like a number of people have been there, and they've crossed that continent, and more than people than that have traveled there, and there are some research bases down there as well. Yeah, now we are touching upon something important here, actually, because there is an what should we call it? It's anti-scientific, and we know that science is a method. It's a method, and it's a method. Okay, it's not like you have. Okay, so I shouldn't have to defend that. Science is a method, but there is a anti-scientific movement. There's an anti-intellectualism, especially in the USA, and it's been like that for a long time. it's been written about and talked about for a long time. Isaac Asimov, he wrote quite a famous essay about that. And it seems to be worse under Trump because he has to pander to those evangelists and those they call themselves Christians, but you know what? I think they're not really. They shouldn't be allowed to. Well, they should be allowed to call themselves Christians. But here's my take on this. Okay, so you have the people building a so-called replica of the Ark. Imagine how much food for poor people that they could have bought for all that money. By the way. So you have those people, and you have the people saying the Earth is it 5,000 or 8,000 years old, and you have the people saying the dinosaurs were not real. Candace Owens actually has gotten into that nonsense now. And they believe also, there's a little bit of flat Earth thing there as well, and you have all these crazy ideas, and none of those ideas are new, and a rewriting of history. Because if you go back, the flat Earth thing is that's quite a new thing actually. What was the name? I always forget. This Greek fellow who managed to calculate the circumference, the distance around the Earth. What is his? No, not Galileo. His name. He managed to do that at least 2,000 years ago, I think. So obviously he was brilliant. And so, they knew that the Earth was a sphere. People are just guessing now, and I can't remember the name either. But basically, he managed to do that using geometry. So we are taking steps back into the Dark Ages if we allow this to happen. And I think a lot of this has to do with, or at least it was accelerated by during COVID, when you had authorities saying that this is science. You should take this untested injection here because you need to believe in science. And then the things happened that we know happened. And a lot of people are then thinking, well, if they said that is science, we can't believe in science is wrong, we shouldn't trust science, and so on. But the thing is that was not science, it was just propaganda, right? But the whole thing with, the Earth, the young Earth thing, and flat Earth, the dinosaurs are not real, and all of that. You know what? Now, I'm not a Christian, but I will still say this. I think that's, and I'm searching for the right word in my head now. That's a belittling. You belittle if you believe in a creator, you belittle that creator. You fail to acknowledge how great and grand the creation is, right? Because also, if you, which is a much more popular thing to believe, that there is no evolution, and people, when you say that, you clearly can see evidence here of evolution, and no biologists are discussing that even anymore, and they will say, "Oh, it's adaptation," which is funny, but this also is taking away the, can I say, almost the magical, the magic, it's not magic, of course, but the magic and the greatness of nature and the world we live in. And isn't that also taking away the greatness and the greatness of your creator, if you believe in a creator? Now, my daughter studies biology, and so I know for a fact that most people, they have no idea of these things, no idea. And biologists and other scientists, they do understand a lot more than most people about, for instance, how cells, the evolution on a cellular level, and so on. How life came to be, they know quite a bit about that, actually, much more than people realize. And I can't explain to you guys this thing, because I'm not a biologist, but she has tried to explain a little bit to me. Now, okay, Viking graphics, Eratosthenes, that was the guy, calculated the circumference of the Earth with sticks and sun angles. Yes. But none of that, of course, takes anything away from, if, again, you're a Christian, or if you have some other religion and you believe in a creator, it doesn't take anything away from that. I would rather argue that it makes the wonder of creation much greater. By the way, Ghost Users says the Norse did not believe in science, yet they were very advanced. Well, they absolutely believed in science in their way. I know what you mean, but it was a very advanced society. And who sparked the first? Who sparked the most dominating theory of how the universe came to be is the Big Bang theory. If that's how it happened, then who made that happen? What made it happen? Did it happen just by itself? Are we now looking into something that the human mind can't comprehend? And I don't know. But it's an interesting discussion to have, and I think it's you belittle the whole thing, the whole idea of creation, by not, if you believe the Earth is 5,000 or 8,000 years old, if you believe there isn't such a thing as evolution, if you believe that the dinosaurs never existed, and all of that, and I want to use that word, belittle. You belittle your God, because then you're basically saying that your God was only capable of designing a constant world or universe. And here's this building requires a builder. Well, let's not get into that discussion, because that's a deep mathematical discussion that you need to have then. And Yeah. uh, well, actually, Steve says, mind blown lately when I think about dinosaur bones sitting there for 60 million years, so many years until the day a human comes along and finds them when Neanderthals were only 20, 50K years ago. Well, actually, from historical records, we know that it's not that uncommon to find fossils. The bones are mostly gone, of course, but you have the process of fossilization. Um, it's not uncommon. And there is a theory out there that the belief in dragons is actually based on people finding remains of huge animals, scary animals, and they would then, since they couldn't really, they didn't have the tools and the means to imagine that those were animals that once existed, um, then they would probably think that, oh, look at those monsters, you know. So that to them, maybe, they thought, that was dragons, remains of dragons. And it's not uncommon to find fossils. I When I was a kid, we were still allowed to go and look for fossils. Well, like, it's not illegal, but I think that site, it's been, you can't find fossils there anymore. But I kind of think I found a fossil, but I was very young. It was a shell, but then again, I don't know if that qualifies as a fossil or just something that has been stuck in the mud and the mud became rock, and you can see the shape of the shell there. And I lost that little rock. And also, sometimes I think, since I was so young, maybe I just dreamt it, because I really wanted to find a fossil down there by the sea. Really, really wanted to find a fossil. Based on me being a little bit obsessed with dinosaurs, of course, because I was taken to the historical museum, no, nature historical, naturhistorisk in Norwegian museum, and they have the fossil of a T-Rex there in Oslo, which is the first thing you see when you get into that museum. And when you're a little boy and you see that, you're hooked. That's, I mean, wow. So yeah, I really wanted to find something like that. Yeah, Glenn is asking, how can people not believe in dinosaurs when you can see reconstructed bones in the museum? I think the idea is that everything is a conspiracy, and the elites are hiding the truth, or something like that. Um, oh, wow, AVV, you've found fossils. Fossils with seashells on top of mountains. You found a fossilized camel tooth at the lake. Years later, found another. Had those verified by the college archaeology department. Uh, let's see. Um, let's see here. Hmm. Yeah, New World Order says dinosaur bones are not actually bones. Yes, they are the imprint of the bones. The bones are gone, and then yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. If I believe in Bigfoot? Well, that would I don't know. I don't know, but um, is it possible that a humanoid species would have survived up until this day? Um, we know that at one time there were several humanoid species living at the same time. But I don't know. It's I would guess it's unlikely because I think they would have been discovered. But it's there are many places here on this planet that are very there are almost no people there. Um, so I don't know. I don't know. I think actually it would be more likely that there were some humanoid species that were smaller than us, because they wouldn't need. Now I'm just thinking out loud here. They wouldn't need as much food, and it would be easier to hide, maybe. Um, yeah, and if there were giants, that one I would guess comes from. If you look back at only we can go to the Middle Ages, medieval times. I'm in the Middle Ages, but we know that because of diet and so on, the difference in size was quite a big difference in size. So you had people in Scandinavia were very tall for that time. If we go back to the Viking Age, they were tall. People in Southern Europe were much smaller, but not like they were seen as a different species, of course. So maybe it comes from that. Maybe there were some very tall people up north, and I don't know. Yeah, there's still quite a difference. I think the Dutch people are the tallest in Europe, and I noticed that when I was there. Now I'm 179 centimeters, uh, and that's quite normal here in Norway. But if you travel to other European countries, you will see that people are generally shorter. Yeah. I noticed also in the USA when I was there, people were in general a little bit shorter than in Europe, in Northern Europe. But yeah, I don't know. That also, I guess, depends on where you are, because now I'm actually referring to Los Angeles, and there were lots of Latinos there, and they, I guess, are shorter. But okay. Yes, depends on what area of the US. Yes. Um, hmm. No, so we can guess about these legends, and it's interesting. It's interesting, and but then again, I tend to think that those stories and legends that haven't been proven, that there's a reason we call them stories or legends, and tall tales, tall tales. So I think that most of these stories about giants are tall tales, pun intended. Yeah. So yeah. Wesley says, what we lack in height, we make up in might. We short Hispanics, says Steph. Yeah, but then again, the difference isn't so great. We're talking just a few centimeters. So that can't be, obviously not, that would not have led to stories about giants. So if there were people back then, who were much taller, they must have been like, at least, I guess, a foot, maybe 2 feet taller. So I guess you would have to have seen a big difference in order for people to think that, oh, those are giants, you know. Yes. Yeah. Well. Yeah. Mythology. There are giants in mythology, of course, and I think some people say that since there are giants in mythology, in all kinds of mythology, then there must have been giants. I don't necessarily agree, because the symbolism in having people who are giants is, and I can tell you this as an author, it's easy to see the symbolism, and it's easy to see why people would have made up a legend about giants, because there's something like larger than life. There's something almost godlike to giants, and so that could be the reason. The simple reason could be that. So, for instance, in the mythology of Scandinavia, you have, of course, Jotner, the Jotuns. They are very big. Some are smaller. Some are like us, but some are bigger. And Grasna says they were not necessarily tall, but some were very tall and big. Yeah. Yeah, and there is a Christian mythology, of course, with the giants. And you'll have to forgive me for saying Christian mythology, because I think if you look at it, it's clearly mythology, at least part of it. Christians don't like when I say that, but yeah, unless you believe in crazy stuff, you have to be able to say that that's mythology, and it's okay. It doesn't take anything away from your faith. So there is that. There is, let's see if I can find some other examples. Not right now. But I'm sure there are stories about giants in all cultures. You know, maybe it was because people were smaller and some people were unusually tall. I don't know. Um, now I want to thank you all for all the comments. I can't reply to all the comments. Um, yes, we have the little guys too. Nissen, yes, which is often confused with Santa Claus. But Nisse is, or Tomte in Swedish, he lives on your farm. And he makes sure that the animals are taken care of. He helps you. But if you are not kind to the animals, he will punish you. And if you are disrespectful of him, he will also punish you in strange ways. He will hide your slippers and your wallet. Yeah. So he's like, don't mess with the Nisse. If I can give you a piece of advice for life, it's that: don't mess with the Nisse. Okay. Yeah. Snow White. Those are not nisser in Snow White. Those are. It's a funny thing, isn't it, with Snow White? I mean, because let's face it, back in the day when those fairy tales were being told, people had a disgusting view on people who were different, who looked different. And they would call them dwarfs. Like, if you're very short, you're a dwarf. It's extremely, what's the word? Disrespectful and cruel. Imagine that, some people still say that. So, yeah. But they did end up with a bit of a problem with the Snow White movie, didn't they? Because they are short people, like the seven dwarfs. They are short people, and it's so they couldn't use short people, like proper short people, vertically challenged. So they had to they used some movie, what's the word? They manipulation to make normal height people look tiny, and which took the potential jobs away from short actors. So, I don't know. That's yeah. I don't know. Yeah, GB says, I love the story of Beauty and the Beast. Profound, really. Yes, absolutely. But actually, I think that story would have been even more beautiful if the Beast did not change into a handsome young man, but instead remained as the Beast, but was loved for inner qualities, That's how I would have written it. Yeah. Clint says Dinklage has short temper. Okay. That was a little bit funny, I must admit. That, yeah. Yeah, okay. So let's end this live stream with that. I hope you enjoyed, and hopefully the new internet connection here is better. That's what I'm hoping for. It didn't cut this time, so fingers crossed. Okay. Have a wonderful day or evening, and thank you, Gaudio. And we'll talk probably tomorrow. Okay. Wonderful. Bye bye.